Hello, I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to EBAday 2021. Kindly calling into our virtual studio now is Marion King, Director of Payments for Natwest. So Marion, it's lovely to see you again, although virtually this time.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you on. So yes, this year's theme is Payments Transformation in 2021, the road to success. So a good place to start, I think, would be to highlight some of the top market trends you're seeing that are influencing this change. So let's start there.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much, isn't there? And there are so many different topics that all interrelate. So I've kind of categorized it into 5 key themes. But I think the first thing to say is what we've seen is that payments, I mean, from a bank perspective, which is where I'm working now, it's what's called the heartbeat of the bank. It's the one experience that all of our customers pretty much have every day, you know, either directly or indirectly. And so the agenda and the pace of change in the payments industry, I think, is second to none. The first theme I'd call out is customer need, customer expectation. And of all the themes, I think that's the more consistent one. It's the same sort of principles. They are just accelerating and dial up or dial down, depending on what's happening elsewhere. And they're clearly, you know, safety. Unfortunately, we see fraud more and more. So safety, simplicity, taking friction out of that payment, but taking friction out and keeping it safe is a challenge. Certainty, customers just need to know the payment's going, it'll be there when it says, and it'll go to the right place. So, you know, certainty, speed, real time, 365 days a year, the world has moved on, and smart, where we're using digital, we're using mobile more and more. Data needs to be attached to that payment needs to accumulate and give other data to help customers make more informed decisions. So those S's or a C purporting to be an S, they remain pretty consistent. The next biggest theme is technology, digital, of course. We've seen the surge in e-commerce through the pandemic, open finance, open banking, connection, utilizing APIs more effectively. Still in the very early stage of evolving, but it's going to be a big theme going forward. Cloud and cloud storage. Who'd have thought, that payments data would be stored in the cloud? It's changing the economics and the dynamic of the technology. And I think, if we look at CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies, distributed ledger technology, I think that's going to be the next big change in settlement and exchange. So a big theme around technology. Competition, we have a paytech market that didn't exist a few years ago, with lots of interesting innovations from around the world. And that leads me on to the last theme, which is globalization. Payments must be borderless. And many of our legacy systems, many of our interbank systems just simply weren't designed like that. So this drive to borderless, so it's a seamless experience for all of us at the lowest possible cost, has to be a key theme going forward.
Well, thank you so much for setting the scene there, Marion. So what do you believe is the biggest opportunity then to drive successful transformation? What about that?
Yeah, and on the best opportunity, I'm not going to be talking about profitability or the most customers. I want to talk about the best opportunity for success and for success for the whole industry. And I want to focus on the how we do this rather than the what, because we've all got a vision and we all know what the technologies can and can't do. But how do we do this as an industry, as a global industry? And my first sort of, call to action really is to really focus on that transition and those transition states. So much is changing. This is a network industry. It has to be joined up. So if we think about things like moving to global standards, ISO 20022 as an example, fantastic, great opportunity, but different schemes at different rates. And therefore, we're going to have some messages in a new format, some in the old format. And we really have to focus as an industry how we manage that shift and that evolution, because it isn't a big bang approach, it's an evolution. I think second to that is collaboration, and as I said, this is a network industry. And I did some work recently with UK Finance on a 10-year vision. fantastic. 100 people from 40 different organisations all sharing, because that's how we'll crack this. It isn't competitive, knowing how to work together. It's really, really important. Similarly, fraud protection is not a competitive industry. We all have to raise the bar to the highest possible level. So a collaborative culture in our industry is a real opportunity for us. The standards I spoke about, moving more and more to global standards, so we have interoperability, which leads to more choice, which leads to more opportunity. I think that will take time, of course, but moving to those standards across the globe is really important. I think, when you talk about payments, regulation is always a topic. And increasingly, I see regulation as a kite mark for our industry. We need to embrace it as a real opportunity to say our industry is safe, our industry is regulated, our industry is compliant and follows these clear rules to protect our customers. And I think historically, the reason I say that is regulation has sort of been a bit of a burden because it can be expensive. But I think we need to view it and embrace it as that reinforcement of the strength and the safety of our industry. And then I think the last how, and this is a bit of a favourite point of mine, Hannah, is as we work through these transition states, as we work through new opportunities that technology largely provides, what are the economics that follow that? Is this sustainable? Much of our payments industry is fueled by central infrastructure, which are now increasingly going into private ownership. And we need to think about that. And we need to think about free banking, in the UK and other countries for consumers. And we need to think about merchants who need, low cost ability to trade. And so the economics of payments for me is a really important topic that will lead to sustainability of our industry.
All right, that's really interesting, and some very good advice weaved in there as well, which leads me into the crystal ball question, as it were. What can we expect? What does the future payments landscape look like?
Well, as I said, I had the privilege really of chairing the Future Ready Payments Report 2030, which UK Finance. It was just for the UK, but it embraced many global themes, which is that theme of borderless, interoperability, common standards that we all embrace, and be prepared to be interoperable, even though that means customers will have choice to move away from you, as in open banking. So really to drive that as an industry. My vision would be, wouldn't it, for a very safe payments industry, much safer than it is now, with real focus on consumer protection and a consistency of consumer protection, so customers know where they stand, and that we protect and we prevent fraud to the highest possible level. So I see a safer industry as things like digital identity and utilising technologies can help improve our market. I see an industry where I think I said one day you'll hear people say, when I leave school or university, I want to work in the payments industry. So I see an industry that has a bigger identity and a stronger identity because trading fuels global economies. So an industry that has a voice. The last point I'd make, Hannah, and this came out loud and clear from all the people that I spoke to then and all the people I speak to now in my network, which is let's do payments with purpose. Let's do this and make this industry more and more successful for good as well. So things like making sure digital inclusion is something that's on our agenda, and that we team together to, yes, utilise technology where we can, but also educate and help people on that journey and companies on that journey. And when I talk about transition, digital isn't possible for everyone and every community, and we can't leave anyone behind. So we have to think holistically, and we have to think about that legacy as well, because legacy isn't something you just switch off. It's something that you evolve from. As customers needs are met. So we have to think of all of our customer base. And so to that end, for example, I sit on the advisory board of Pennies, a charity, micropayments, so that every time a transaction is made, people have a choice to just round it up a little, and that will go to a charitable cause of the merchant's choice. So use the payments industry not only to be a real economic driver and a strong employer and a fascinating place to work, but also that it does good for communities and for people, and that it is a positive force for good as well.
Well, Marion, ending on a really positive note there, and it's safe to say watch this space, and looking forward to hearing from you over the course of EBAday. But for now, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.